Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we're doing just a Saturday in the life. We had a little snowy day. I started to just say a nice snowy day, but I realized that almost everybody in the country got more snow than we did. For us it was like very exciting. But I am just kind of getting into our Saturday routine. We recently turned this closet, which was kind of a junk closet, into a pantry, and I am so excited. Ignore the zit stickers, okay? Let's just ignore those. But that is working really well for us. It's been really nice, giving us a little bit of extra storage space for things. But we're doing a Saturday in the life. Saturday is one of my favorite days of the week. It's the day where I get to play in the kitchen, just kind of make all the things, do some meal prep, make yummy breads and all the good stuff. So that is what we're going to be up to most of the day today. I am up early because on Saturdays, the kiddo and I go to Waffle House for breakfast, and I also am starting sourdough today. This is my third loaf. So if for those of you who are like interested in the sourdough process and we're like, I'm going to miss the sourdough updates, I saw ya. Here's an update. That is my starter right there behind the candle in the weck jar. And she is so happy. She's thriving. But here's the thing. Right before Christmas, I gave up on her. I was like, okay, I give up. It's not working. I am going to just buy a starter. And I put her in the fridge. We went for Christmas. About a week later, I was like, I want to make some sourdough discard bagels. So I pulled the discard, or what I thought I was going to throw away, out of the fridge, fed it on a whim. And then I came back and y'all, she had doubled. She had just doubled. I don't know what happened. I don't know why it worked all of a sudden and didn't work before, but she's going. It's going great. This is, like I said, my third loaf of sourdough bread. Round one, I felt like I was swimming in the dark. Like I had a recipe to follow. We were using the Tartine cookbook and followed that, but it still felt like I had so many different voices in my head, so many different mixed pieces of information. And I was just trying my best, and it felt like it wasn't doing what it was supposed to be doing. It still turned out okay. Like it was just a little flatter than I wanted. I think it just didn't get like that oven spring it's supposed to get. But round two was a little bit better. And then here we are for round three. And every single time I'm keeping a little diary of notes where I see what I think happened, what I did each step of the way with like timestamps, just because I think sourdough is so much a like problem solving situation, that I really wanted to collect data, make adjustments, and see what works. So one of the adjustments that I'm making in this recipe is I started using bread flour. So I've been using all-purpose flour. Apparently a lot of people bake sourdough with all-purpose, but I didn't feel like I was getting the strength that I wanted in the dough. And so I thought maybe it's the bread flour. I'm doing some part bread flour, some part whole wheat. And this, and we're just going to see how it goes. This has much more gluten, so it should be just stronger. From this, that's as much as I know about that, if I'm honest. But I'm just mixing it into like a shaggy dough. And I'm going to let it auto-lease, like just rest for like 30 minutes. And then I'll add the salt and do a series of stretch and folds around 3 rounds. And then it just has to proof, like do the bulk ferment is what we call it. All of that to say, I am enjoying this process. It's definitely different than the other breads that I've been making. So since we talked last, it's been about a month, and I have not bought store-bought bread in about a month. I'm making all of our bread And if I don't know how to make it, which is almost nothing the first time, I'm having to learn it all, I figure it out over time. I made tortillas, I've made English muffins, hoagie rolls, dinner rolls. Japanese milk bread is the go-to for sandwich bread. And now we're working on the sourdough situation. All of that being said, it's been really fun. It's been really fun for me to figure out all of these new things. I like to try a recipe 2 or 3 times. And then if I like a recipe the first time, I'll make sure it will turn out the same way the next time. And if it does, then I have been writing it down in a little recipe book and referencing that instead of looking it all up all over again, which has been really nice. So right now I feel like this might be the sourdough recipe I use because this is the first one. Spoiler alert, that turned out well. I am hopeful that I'm going to do it one more time. And if it has the same result, then I'm going to go ahead and use this recipe as like my standard. I feel like I have a bagel recipe that I've perfected and I like it and I feel like it's good. I'm still looking at English muffin recipe that I like. The Japanese milk bread one that we use is great. Dinner rolls are great. I'm still looking for tortilla bread, naan bread, and hoagie bread that I really like. A recipe that feels like really good. So if you guys have anything for those, I would love to hear them. But already, y'all, with this stretch and fold, it is so much stronger than the last 2 that I did. So that is feeling really hopeful. The problem I'm running into, though, is that my bowl is too light. So it's like getting picked up when I try to stretch. So I've got to switch bowls out, and I do end up switching to a glass bowl just because it holds heat better and it doesn't lift when I try to stretch the bread. Also, friends, I tried filming this video on my phone and I used cinematic mode. And so I'm just having some focusing issues. And I was like, I don't want to like scrap the whole vlog just because of that. And so I'm just going to apologize and say, yep, she's a little fuzzy today. We'll figure it out. I think I know what to do next time if I want to do it this way. But in the meantime, my bad, but I've been storing, if I need like a mid temperature between the countertop and like an 80-degree spot, which is like the oven with the light on, I've been using the microwave. If you just leave the door open, the light stays on and it stays pretty warm, but it's not as warm as the oven. So that has been working pretty well for me. My current coffee recipe, y'all, is so good. It's bringing me a lot of joy, and it's just coffee with a little bit of maple syrup and a little bit of cream, and it is hitting the spot for me right now. I think it's just like very cozy and comforting for winter. I'm thriving, honestly. I'm like really happy. Also, my cream is not in a glass jar to be aesthetic. I accidentally just poured too much when I was measuring something and I couldn't get it back into its original container. So I just poured the whole thing into the jar, and it's actually bringing me more joy than it should every time I use it. It's like I have a dairy cow. It's like making me so happy. But no, it's not that deep. I just made a mistake. But see how much stronger? I mean, you didn't see the first bread. I wish I had recorded it so you could see the difference, because oh my gosh, this guy is already so much stronger than the other ones that I've done. It's holding shape. The last 2 loaves that I did, every time I would put it aside for 30 minutes to come back and fold, it will have like spread out and lost shape completely. But this is what it's looking like now. Now, this is like an hour later. Normally I do like 30 minutes. But my kiddo, it's probably an hour and a half. My kiddo and I went out for breakfast and came back. And I just went ahead and did my last little stretch and fold after we returned from going out. And it worked out fine. I think I was so precious about this process the first 2 times. But what I'm learning it is actually like much more intuitive, much more like relaxed than I thought. And I don't have to be so stressed about it. And in fact, like I probably wouldn't do it regularly if I was that uptight about it all the time. This is the moment, if you see the bread on the counter, this is the moment where I kind of lost hope because it started to flatten out. And I was worried it wasn't going to get the rise that I really wanted. But a lot of that happens in the oven. And so we are kind of just operating on faith at this point. This dish towel, y'all, I don't know what happened to it. I think it must have gotten put like on the oven or something, but it's like burnt through. So I was like, let's just use you as a little Banneton basket liner and call her a day. But I'm just like flouring the heck out of that basket so it doesn't stick. And the same thing for the top of the bread. This is going live 2 days after my birthday. I'm turning 38 and my life is like, I don't know, it's cool. I love a birthday reflection. I love the process of exploring what it means to live another year, you know? And truthfully, my life in some ways is like further along than I thought it would be. In other ways, it's not as far along as I thought it would be. In other ways, things that I want now are not things that I ever thought I would want. Like owning a home has just never been something that I thought I wanted, but is like the main focus of my attention right now is like working toward that goal. I never thought I would want to be like baking in the kitchen all day. Like never, ever, ever. I thought I would be a full-time traveling. You know, that was more where I thought my life was going to go. And even so, some things I really wanted, I've achieved. Like I knew my whole life I wanted to write a book, and I've gotten to write 2, and hopefully I'll write more. And I've had really cool experiences getting to speak in really cool places and teach in really cool places, work with some incredible people. And I am looking forward to what this year holds. I think it's going to be a surprise. I already kind of know some shifts and changes that I want to make, and it's a little scary, I guess, to like take these leaps, but it's like what I'm best at, I think, is trusting my intuition, trusting what I know I want and need, and taking action on those things. So that is what I'm leaning into this year. I have decided at this point, the bread, the sourdough bread is just like doing its second rise, and I wanted to make some bagels. So I'm starting that process. I'm really enjoying this sourdough discard recipe. I made like full sourdough bagels where I didn't have any additional yeast, and they proofed overnight. And I'm going to be honest, I didn't like it as much. I think I don't want my bagels to have like a really sour taste to them. I do like discard in a recipe because I think it gives it a nice texture. But yeah, I don't think it was for me. I prefer the discard recipe. I love having a way to use the discard. So all is well on that front. I bought the bread maker while doing Vlogmas, right? And I am loving it. It is everything to me. I've been able to just like put together a little bit of bread, go do some work, come back, shape it, put it in the oven. Like it's just been so helpful. It takes a load off. Obviously, if you have a stand mixer, that can work as well. But this kind of serves as like a stand mixer proofing box combo because it keeps your bread warm, so it has a nice warm place to rise, which I think is less important in the summer, but right now in the winter, it has been hugely helpful. I can almost always guarantee I'm going to come back, the dough's going to be ready, and I can do what I need to do, you know? So I'm just taking this bagel dough and I'm dividing it up into 8 pieces. It says you can do like up to 12 with this recipe, but I don't think that's true. Like it would be so small. Uh, I feel like I like this recipe, but even as I'm talking about it, I think I'm still looking for the one because I don't know, I have a certain bagel I like. That's what I'm looking for, and I found this one. It works. But I feel like, you know what? Maybe I'm going to date around a little bit next time I go. And we'll see how it turns out. But I normally, when I'm shaping my bagels, I have been kind of rolling them into a log and then wrapping them around my hand. And I think they make really pretty bagels, but the rise is pretty uneven because the part where it connects is often thinner than the rest of the bagel. So it kind of like goes up and comes back down. So I decided to try this way where I roll it into a ball and then just poke a hole in the center and then just kind of work that hole out and make it a little bit wider. And these did rise more evenly. It still didn't get the rise that I wanted, and maybe that's on me. Like maybe I should have let them rise for longer, but you know, we'll try that next time. We'll take that data and we'll try it next time. But it did feel like they rose more evenly to where it was easier to cut and you didn't have like one thin side and one thick side. I'm just shredding some Parmesan cheese and then we are gonna get to boiling those bagels. I have so much to catch up with you guys about. I'm just checking the sourdough loaf. I'm doing the poke test. As you guys know, it's like supposed to spring back and then stay dimpled. And unfortunately, this is happening right before it is time for me to bake the bagels. So I decided I'm just going to put it in the fridge until I can bake the bagels. It's like it's sat in there for like an hour. That like slows it down. And so it won't hopefully wouldn't overproof. And then I could probably score it a little bit easier that way as well. So that's what we did. And then I just took the time to boil the bagels. I put a big honkin' chunk of brown sugar in there and then boiled them for like 15 seconds on each side. I don't like my bagels super chewy on the outside, so I just wanted enough to kind of create a crust, but not so much that it was like hard to eat, you know? I've thought about not boiling them at all because I'm just not like a chewy bagel person normally. But I also don't know because I feel like I don't know if they would be. I feel like they wouldn't be good if you didn't boil them. So I don't know if you've tried not boiling a bagel. I would love to hear what your experience is like, or if you found a bagel recipe that is your favorite. I would love to hear. This one's good. It's just not. I don't know. I feel like there's one that I might like more, and so I might keep kind of shopping around. But this process, the part of boiling the bagels I thought was going to be cumbersome and like the annoying part of like an extra step I didn't want to do, but it's actually probably my favorite part. I think that's a thing that I'm finding with cooking more things from home, making more things from scratch, is it actually makes me enjoy cooking more, which I think I would have thought the other way around. But I think because I'm spending more time and I'm slowing down, it's like more creative. It makes me feel more excited to be cooking and much more connected to my food. And yeah, that's been feeling really good. And so I think the little things that we do to make it more special, I don't know. I think that slowing it down part of the process feels really good. I am making some broth. I saved a bone. I made pulled pork, like a week ago. And I kept the bone from that meat and just put it in with the broth. I'm using the Instant Pot now. I used to do it in my Dutch oven on the stovetop, but I would make veggie broth. But because I'm putting meat bones in it more, I prefer to use the Instant Pot. The other positive thing about the Instant Pot is that it cooks it down more. And I actually feel like I'm getting more flavorful broth and a much higher volume of broth. So I'm getting about twice the amount that I was getting when I used my Dutch oven, but it's also just as flavorful. I would think it'd be the other way around, like you would lose flavor. But I haven't experienced that, so that's been really nice. I put it in for about 2 hours and just let it run. And I do those dishes at some point. I promise. This is just the reality of Saturday. It is a big old pile of dishes all day long. Yeah, so I'm gonna pull those bagels out of the oven. The broth is going. The sourdough bread is in the refrigerator, kind of getting ready to be scored. And so I'm just gonna go ahead and put the Dutch oven in the oven to preheat for the sourdough bread. You just want it to be nice and hot so it can generate some steam and help it to bake. So that is what's going on there. We'll do a little close-up shot of the bagels here in a second so you can get a sense of what they look like. That's their vibe. That's how they're doing. I did everything with Parmesan cheese and it was so good. And then cinnamon, sugar, and then plain for the kiddo. And then because I am that person, I needed my husband to say, wow, good job.
Yeah, that was amazing. Those are great.
And he did not disappoint. that there's some like little kid in me that needs that interaction, right? But now we are just doing some kitchen refills and restocks and things like that around the house. I have been buying more things, not necessarily in bulk, but just like because we have the pantry space now, I'm just kind of keeping it stocked and it's been feeling really good. I'm refilling our rice jar and I was really impressed with the fact that the cup for the rice maker fits perfectly into that jar. It brings me a lot of joy. It hasn't stopped bringing me a lot of joy, if I'm honest. I just love a good organizational moment. I'm also cleaning up the coffee bar. I try to do this every Saturday, just give it a little bit of a deeper clean. Some Saturdays are deeper than others. This one was actually pretty light-handed. All told, I didn't take apart any of the machines and like clean every little crevice. I just kind of vacuumed up the station. I mean, obviously it's a coffee bar, so tons of coffee grounds kind of collect and get stuck in little crevices. And I try to wash, obviously the filters and the jars and things once a week. I don't know if you guys ever have, like people's parents, like never clean their coffee machines, and it shows, hotels that like never clean their coffee pots. Like it's not right. So I try to keep on top of mine like once a week and really just give it a nice clean out. I do a deeper clean, usually like once a month, once every other month. And otherwise I just keep it relatively clean, It is time to get my loaf going in the oven. I'm just putting parchment paper down. I used to do this no-knead artisan bread recipe. It wasn't sourdough, but it used instant yeast, and it turned out really well all the time. It was a really good recipe, and they taught me this about the parchment paper. It just makes it so much easier if you are using parchment paper to transfer it everywhere. It doesn't stick. It's a dream. So that's what I'm doing. Here is my first time trying to make any kind of a score pattern. I just went straight down the center, and then on either side, I just did a little leaf. I see people on Instagram and stuff do these beautiful designs with like deep intricacy. One of the people that does that, she said that she puts hers in the freezer for 30 minutes before she scores. And that makes sense because I don't know how you could score that nicely otherwise, but I can't be bothered with that. That isn't, it's not my personality. Maybe one day I'll do it. I don't know, but it felt fun to put a little leaf in there. I wasn't mad at that. And yeah, that Dutch oven is nice and hot now. And I see how easy it is with the parchment paper. You just pop, transfer it right over. It's super easy. This parchment paper, I'm trying not to let any air out. So I want to make sure it still seals. Because I think in the past, one of the problems I've had is that the parchment paper was between the lid and the bowl. And so it couldn't get enough steam going. That's just a hypothesis. I don't know if it's correct. But all of that to say, it works great. And the parchment paper is compostable. So you can just pop it right into the compost. I'm also prepping up our fridge. Our kiddo packs their own lunch now, and I just like to have things kind of prepped for them so it's easier, why not? And one of the things that I'm getting ready is some veggies. I already had celery and carrots cut up. I just needed to put the carrots in a new jar, and I had a little extra than would fit in the jar I had them in before, so just putting those all in the same container and then chopping up the cucumber. I also in the video didn't show this, but I cleaned out the fridge, kind of organized it. Because I've been trying to have a really strict grocery budget, I have changed up a lot of the way that I shop and the way that I think about shopping. It has changed a ton. And one of the things that I'm doing right now is I'm doing one Sam's Club shop a month. If you didn't know, you can order Sam's Club through Instacart, and it is so helpful. So I'm buying like all my kiddos like lunch box drinks and snacks for the quarter at Sam's Club. So I'm kind of rationing them out, which sounds kind of weird, but it's working so far because it's also making my kid more conscious of snacking. Like I feel like I used to just buy snacks whenever we ran out of snacks, and they would kind of fill up on snacks and then not eat dinner. And now they're like, and we're trying to like grow their palate a lot. And this combination is currently working really well, where I am giving them a certain amount of snacks per week, a certain amount of drinks for their lunch, and they can ration them as they will. Like if you run out of snacks for the week, you run out of snacks. And, we always have fruit and veg in the fridge. We always have bread. We always have stuff to make a snack, but like easy grab and go snacks are kind of being kind of rationed out. Not from like it's bad to have snacks mindset, but from I'm trying not to spend $1,000 a month in groceries mindset. And that's helping. So I am just releasing the steam on the Instant Pot, and the sourdough is done. And y'all, I think it turned out beautifully. It is the best loaf that I've done so far. But y'all, I was freaking out. I was so excited. You'll hear my reaction and Obi's reaction in just a second. I just felt really proud of it. I loved the way it turned out. Yeah, look at her. So that's my little like leaf pattern on the side there.
You did it! You did it! Good job! That's amazing! That's incredible, babe!
Like full on giddy over that loaf, I'm not gonna lie. And it tastes good. It's turned out really well. So this might be the recipe. I'm gonna try it again this weekend in the same rhythm, and if it works, I'm gonna call it a win, and I'm gonna run with that. The other like tricky part about a Saturday is dinner. So we're coming into dinner time. It's like 5:45. It's time to be like making dinner, and I am usually so pooped by this point. This is usually the point, because also I don't know if this was the case when I was doing Vlogmas, but we've changed our cleaning schedule because I'm making so much more from scratch now. I didn't have the time to clean all the rooms, like the whole house on Saturday like I used to. And so now we've split it up by day, and it's like Tuesday we take care of the bedroom, when, every day has an assignment. Sunday and Monday, we don't clean at all. And then we're kind of sharing that together and doing what we can in each room. But anyway, Saturdays, I used to clean the whole house and do all of any kind of food prep. And usually I would go to the grocery store. So by the end of the day, the last thing I wanted to do was cook dinner, which is ironic because it's the day I was like most thinking about food for our house and like the budget and all of that. So we would often order out on Saturdays just because I was tired. But this year we're doing the no spend year. Our eating out budget is relatively low, all things considered. So takeout isn't really where I want to be using that money, if that makes sense. So I was like, let's make Saturdays really easy. So tonight I'm doing breakfast for dinner. It wasn't as easy as I would like for it to be. There are definitely easier recipes, but I was just in the zone here. And I made my husband and I a Dutch baby pancake. I also made us an egg sandwich with ham and cheese on one of the bagels. And we split it. We split the bagel. We split the Dutch baby as well. And it was so good. And then for the kiddo, I made them some strawberry cream cheese to put on one of the cinnamon sugar bagels and then served that with some cucumbers on the side. It was easy. It was relatively easy. I'm not going to lie. I made homemade whipped cream. I like... I think I went a little too hard on this dinner. Normally it's like easy mac for the kiddo or leftovers for us or pasta, like something super duper easy. But honestly, the Dutch baby all told is pretty easy. You just put the ingredients in a bowl, you whisk them together. It bakes for 15 minutes and then you're done. The whipped cream is really easy too. I mean, you just put heavy cream and maple syrup and a little bit of vanilla in a jar. I bought a $30 immersion blender off of Amazon last year. That is also a food processor. It's amazing. And I literally can just, and I have whipped cream. It's awesome. I will say the strawberry cream cheese, I hadn't made that before. I think if I were to do it again, I would definitely blend it together. It was just like a weird, it tasted amazing, especially on that bagel. It was so good. Like you'll see in this clip, I cut myself off a little section of it because I just wanted to make sure it was good. And it was really good. I was kind of jealous of my kids' dinner. But I just think it would be better if I blended it. It would just be a better texture, So... But all in all, it was great. It worked out fine. Dinner got on the table and we all survived. I am loving breakfast for dinner right now. It's something that Obi reminded me of. And I was like, oh yeah, we could just have breakfast at dinner. It's novel, but it's been a really nice little thing to have in the rotation lately. And yeah, that is it, friends. So you'll see the Dutch baby pop out. It looks so cool. It's like one of the easiest things to make for how dramatic it turns out and how I always have the ingredients to make it in the house. You know what I mean? It's nice. And I just topped it with some strawberries and the whipped cream. And then you see our little half of the bagel sandwich on the other side. And that was dinner. So thank you guys for joining me for a Saturday in my life, and I'll see you next time. Bye.